have with me another business partner, Dan Keelan. As some of you may know, maybe many of you don't, we also cover the business of cannabis separately from MITech News. That's at a company that we call 420post.com, spelled Four, because all the number of 420s were already spoken for when we registered the domain. So Dan handles all that stuff. I do the editorial stuff, and jointly we have this program called the Women in Cannabis Program. And it's really Dan's brainchild, so I'm going to let him walk you through what it's all about. Take it away, Dan.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. It's funny that the overlap between 420 Post and MyTech TV is around business, some of it technology driven, but a lot of it is business to business in the 420 Post focus. And so what made sense was to look at leadership in the industry. I think it might be true in the tech industry, but certainly in the cannabis industry, lots of men, lots of white men, and we were sitting around talking about, well, could we recognize, younger people and women who are making a contribution, who are building an industry, because whether it's cannabis or not, it's interesting because it's entrepreneurial and it's tough and it's new in the region. So we came up with this women in cannabis leadership idea and promoted it early summer. Did some email blasts and didn't really know what to expect. I thought, oh, if we get 20 people nominated, wouldn't that be great? And then we had some idea of how we would vet them and come up with, the awardees. Anyway, we got 102 women. Uh, so the way it went was they had to be nominated by their peers. And so over like a month, we just got this huge number of emails, people promoting someone they worked with or honoring someone who they knew in their past. And so we went through a process where we then contacted all the people that were nominated, asked them to submit some information about themselves, which culled the number down. And at the end, we had, 12 to 20. We found a volunteer board of leaders in the industry that used kind of a process we put together and came up with six. So six women are being honored. We're thinking of it as the first year because the reaction was so great that once we're past this initial set of videos and interviews and recognitions and an event, which I can tell you more about, after the first of the year, we'd like to do season two. And keep it going and continue to honor and recognize and tell the story about people that are doing great jobs leading in a pretty tough industry, as you know.
A challenging industry indeed.
Yeah,
We've been in a consolidation now for well over a year. I talk to a lot of people in the industry, and they're scratching their heads like everybody else. When will
right.
this end? When will it consolidate and move forward? Hard to say. But in the
Yeah,
meantime, this also would be a really good opportunity. Maybe not, cannabis companies don't have a lot of money right now, but there are a lot of support industries for
yeah,
cannabis companies. I
yep.
think this would fit in nicely. Why don't you talk about that?
I think that's exactly where it fits in. You're right, because any industry that's brand new or is going through changes, is going through consolidation. Um, those people, they're not necessarily the folks that are going to be able to write, big checks to run events or do series. But what you and I have talked about a lot is that any industry like this needs legal help and needs financial help and needs consulting from folks that know about leadership or
Marketing, HR, you
yeah,
name it,
right.
right? Yeah.
So we think about that, and one of the things that helped us kind of focus better on that audience and on that support is the work that we do with MICIA, which is the big statewide membership group that does a lot of work in Lansing, and is composed of companies that are actually doing the growing, or we call it, plant touching, but they have an awful lot of members who have nothing to do with with any kind of cannabis, but they're a law firm that's offering services to these entrepreneurs, and it's those ancillary companies, is what they're called, that are providing the business to business services that we think are really important because they're critical to help an industry like this grow. And so when we got the nominees, some of them had worked at a cannabis uh, plant touching company. Brandy Rice Simpson, for example, is really big into education, and her background is edibles and a brand called Captain Kirk Edibles. So that's a plant touching person, and she was recognized by multiple people actually for being a great leader. But in the mix, right, we've got Michelle Donovan, who provides legal services. We've got, Patty Rose Lynch, who just does a lot around leadership. Karina Miller, CPA with Leafic. So when you think about CPA services, legal services, all of the foundational stuff you need to grow your business, that's where a good number of these women um, are. And so it was interesting. They were recognized by their peers in the cannabis industry because their peers recognized how critical the work that they're doing is and how tough it is. So what we did, uh, we, we worked also with Jamie Cooper. And so Jamie and you, I know you know this, but I guess I'm telling the audience, um, kind of split up the list. And over the summer, we've been conducting interviews. So we've been creating video conversations with these women to talk about what they do, kind of find out what makes them tick, um, get to better know them, and then we're writing content and we're promoting that this fall in a series of videos that we're going to promote via our websites, email, social media. Um, Probably going to kick that off as a weekly update right after Labor Day into the middle of September. And then our hope is to run that series for 6 to 8 weeks, and then to do an in-person event, probably in the Lansing area. So the business part of it right now is where we are, is looking out to find companies that want to sponsor this activity, whether they want to underwrite the videos, whether they want to underwrite the whole program, whether they're in a position to help underwrite the in-person event. Because doing the in-person event is where we run into hard costs, but it's also where you have a great opportunity to bring everybody together in the same room, recognize people in person, create, video and audio podcasts out of that, and continue to promote it. So our vision is to kick this off in earnest in September. Like I said, have the event probably first week in November. Continue then to promote and celebrate and honor everybody. And then when we get into 2026, we'd like to kick off season two. And then these six women from the first time around, they sort of become emeritus, honorees, right? So they're not going to go away. We're going to, we want to kind of build up a year one, a year two, a year three, cadre of people. Um, and really for us, monitor what they're doing over time. Because a lot of them are pretty young, which means they're going to be giving back and contributing and, doing great things for, you would hope decades. So for us, that's from a journalistic or editorial point of view, that's going to be really, really fun and interesting for us to follow them and see where, what their business journey and their leadership journey looks like.
And as an added bonus, then certainly on the videos, we'll be posting those on MI Tech News because we
Awesome.
lightly touch on some of the top cannabis stories. It's not our focus, but we do cover that industry. It is a business, a
Oh,
$3 billion business. It
yeah,
surprises a lot of people. That's a lot of money.
yeah.
And 16% of that is tax dollars. So it's supporting a lot of communities as well, right, Dan?
It absolutely is. And I mean, sometimes we wish there were less communities in the state that didn't allow this because we think the trend is what the trend is. The tax base is helpful to local schools and local budgets. And so we could probably spend a different show talking about that. But yeah, this is something that is, real business and needs business support and generates real money and has the attention of business leaders and political leaders. Uh, and it has less to do with lifestyle for me and more to do with the business opportunity. And so business opportunities get driven by people who do a great job leading, and that gets us back to why we're doing this whole program.
Yeah, and I think as tough as it is through the consolidation now, the leaders that come out of this will be very, very savvy because
Yeah,
sometimes the best lessons are the hardest lessons.
that's
And
right.
a lot of these folks knew how to grow cannabis, but they really didn't know how to grow a business. they're learning a hard way right now. So,
That's right.
so
Well,
that's where. Go ahead.
yeah, the joke of that, but it's really not a joke, is, when you go to a wedding and there's the bride's family on one side and the groom's on the other. Sometimes we'll joke about going to a cannabis event, and everybody on one side is from the plant touching world, and um, it's a stereotype.
Casual dressers, shall we say?
Yeah, right. And I know it's a stereotypic, but it's younger, casual dress, tattoos, whatever. And on the other side are, all the guys with ties that got an MBA. And that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's not 100% an exaggeration. And when you're standing in the back of the room and you look at the one side of the room and the other side of the room, you got to think to yourself, well, I wish these people would mix more. I wish there were more opportunities for the people that know how to grow a business to help the people that know how to grow a plant, because the people that know how to grow a plant may have a really tough time with a spreadsheet, or knowing how to get a loan, or knowing how to grow my company from $500,000 a year to $5 million a year. But there's a lot of people out there that have had that experience and can help you. And so part of our overall mission with 420 Post has been to tell that business to business story. And if that helps connect people with business expertise to people with this sort of niche expertise. If you know a lot about hemp, and you can get a business coach to help you, that combination could be pretty fruitful.
Yeah.
So we hope this series educates people, inspires people, introduces them to some women that have done some great things, maybe women you've never heard of. We hope it gets everybody together in a room in November, and really hope we can do this as an annual program.
All right. And how do they reach out to you or get more information?
Yep. So on my screen here is Dan at 420mediagroup.com. So that's my email. If you go to 420post.com, there's a tile on the right-hand side that says Women in Cannabis. You can click on that. There's a contact form. So, but a direct email to me, or call me, 313-806-6986. I should have put that on the screen. But contact me at the email address there, and I'd be happy to talk to people about how they can get involved and how they can help us grow this program.